Hello, personal productivity enthusiasts and community. Welcome to Anything But Idle, the Productivity News Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by W3c Web Services, and I'm Ray Sidney-Smith.
And I'm Augusto Pinaud.
And we're your hosts for Anything But Idle. Today is December 14th, 2020. It's episode 34, the Holiday Gift and Gear Guide 2020. Each week, we cover the productivity news and the technology news, and we make commentary on those items. And to do that, we bring two productivity and or organizational experts to do that. This week's show is a little bit special because we actually have a third person who'll be joining us soon. Whenever he gets to us. So we're very excited to have all three folks joining us today. And so let me bring them on to the show. First up, I have Art Gelwicks. Art is a productivity and collaboration consultant, blogger at The Idea Pump, and host of the Being Productive podcast, as well as being on Productivity Cast podcast with Augusto and myself and Francis Wade. And so with that, welcome to Anything But Idle. Art.
Hey guys, happy holiday. I came dressed for the occasion.
Yes, you did. Absolutely.
And I love the fact you brought me onto the show to talk about stuff. I love talking about stuff. So we're good.
Wonderful. Next up, I have Matt Plummer, who is a former operations manager and strategy and management consultant who got tired of sacrificing his personal life to work long hours without moving up in his career as quickly as he wanted to. So he began a journey to greater productivity and ended up cutting his hours by 30% and managing 3 to 4 projects in the time others managed 2. This experience led him to start Zarvana, where he helps other ambitious professionals achieve the same results with workshops, coaching, and an online program. Welcome to Anything But Idle.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great to have you, Matt.
Be able to talk about this topic.
Wonderful, wonderful. Later in the show, we will be having Joseph Varkeys join us, and I will introduce Joseph at that point. So with that takes us to the Holiday and Gift and Gear Guide 2020. What we're going to do is kind of just go round robin and talk about the various items. What we did was we culled together all of the various productivity and technology gift guides that I could come across and put them all into one big pile. And we're going to just pick them out of the hat and start talking about the ones that we like, enjoy, know, have bought for ourselves or bought for loved ones, cared ones that we think you might enjoy or might enjoy purchasing for someone else in your life. So let's get started. And with that, this is our Productivity and Technology Holiday Gift and Gear Guide 2020 for our first time doing this. So this is a lot of fun. Augusto, you want to start us off with your first round choice?
Of course, and I put it first on purpose. So the first thing is the MacBook Pro with their new M1 chip that I think the more we have looked into the specs of this chip, the chip are amazing. There were questions at the beginning of when this was announced, is Windows was going to be able to run or not run, and Microsoft have even now said, yes, they will. So I think for anybody looking into a computer, the specs, the tests that we have seen, the benchmarks that we have seen are simply incredible and out of proportion. So the first thing that is on my list is the MacBook Pro with the M1 chip.
And who is this for? I mean, other than
everybody. Well,
I fully disagree. I don't think it's for everybody. So let's start there. Who is this for, really?
You want a good computer machine that is going to make you work incredibly well? Get a MacBook. Don't waste your time getting frustrated with any other operating system. I will say that, and I will continue saying that the more people install Windows in their computers, the more far we get to world peace.
Back me up here, Art.
Augusto, what are you doing to me? No, all right. If you wish to pay the Apple tax and suffer your holiday, so feel free. I don't agree. I think the best thing you can get, if you want something equivalent, the smartest investment you can make is a Chromebook. Get them a Chromebook. Get yourself a Chromebook. Get 2. They're small. Matter of fact, for the price of a Mac, you could get 12. But it really comes down to getting a device that's going to be consistent and reliable, and you don't have to worry about the upgrades, and you don't have to do remote tech support for those family members who you give it to. So
Oh, I'm sending the Chromebook to my parents and I'm giving them your phone number.
that's okay. That's okay. A power wash is only 3 steps. I can talk pretty much anybody through a power wash. Don't even ask me how to start the Mac, much less anything else.
I will say this. I think that the M1 is an Apple Silicon generally is a great movement forward in Apple's tradition in both changing chips, but also consolidating into their own ecosystem. Being someone who is much more free open source software oriented, I still understand and value what Apple is trying to do with their ecosystem. I don't think it's the right call, but I do understand it. I recognize why they're doing this, both for themselves as a company, but also for their users and the people who actually buy from them as Apple fans / fanatics. The person who's going to really value the M1 MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air is going to be somebody who currently has a device, it's aging, and they're really looking for a huge improvement in terms of speed and capabilities of the Big Sur operating system on top of the M1 chips. I think those are the folks who really benefit from this the most. And I think that it's a great gift at a really great value. I know Michael Selinsky, when he was on the show for the Apple's announcement for the M1 chips generally, he talked about the fact that he really believed that the MacBook Air was the best value. And I think based on my reading so far, I think the MacBook Air still is the best value of the various products that are out there. And I know that I'm going to probably put my hands on a MacBook Mini, on a Mac Mini soon with the M1 chip just for testing purposes and to play around. But I'm also now kind of toying with the idea that a MacBook Air might be a good travel laptop or 2 or 3.
And all kidding aside, if you're in that ecosystem, and I'll say this about any ecosystem, if you're vested in that ecosystem, you will have less pain and suffering by investing more in that comparable ecosystem, just because the things are tied together. I mean, we talk about Apple all the time as this closed bubble. Samsung's the same way in a lot of cases. You look at their devices and how they interact and just how the platforms and tools work. Investing in an ecosystem, if you believe in it and it matches your need set, it's kind of hard to go wrong. At least it's not a bad decision.
Yeah, I agree on that. And I don't disagree with you in the Chromebook, and we will get to a Chromebook because I put a Chromebook in the list too. But I tend to advise people, unless your Mac is not meeting your needs or is dying, usually my advice is keep your Mac until you cannot do the next operating system. That usually gives you 5 to 7 years on a Mac. That, it's pretty good. And I'm going to say my old MacBook Air that's supposed to be on his last leg was really benefit. I'm being really impressed with the update of Big Sur and how less resources it requires compared to Catalina, and how much better it's running since I installed Big Sur. So moving up to the
Art, you wanna pick your first poison?
Well, I'm going to put out there, and I'm going to go down the Chromebook path, the Lenovo Chromebook Duet. And if you haven't seen this little guy, find him. He's a little hard to find. He is up. I know Ray has one. There you go. And I got one for my son and sent him to college with it. And it is probably one of the best investments when it comes to a Chromebook platform that's out there. It's under $350 usually, depending on how much demand is. The thing is, though, it's a Chromebook tablet with a detachable keyboard. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the Chrome operating system continuously updated. It's a nice small form factor. And of the devices out there, unless I needed a dedicated keyboard all the time, which I have a device for that, I would get a Duet in a heartbeat.
I was really, really pleased with my purchase. I wanted something that was just going to give me this form factor explicitly, detachable keyboard. I already have several other Chromebooks, so obviously I don't need a Chromebook, but I wanted this specific form factor so I could pop off the keyboard, have a tablet, and have it on the go. It's great power-wise. It's been great with the keyboard I mean, really, the keyboard is really high quality. The only thing that I found rather weird is that it's magnetized, right? And so this keyboard doesn't kind of come off unless you really shake it. But the idea is that the magnet in it tells you when the laptop opens. And this is plastic. The connecting piece is plastic here. So it kind of shifts very oddly to me. So I just bought a case, and it just sits and lives inside of its case. And that has solved that problem for me of worrying about the keyboard kind of moving and detaching and letting the screen turn on. And otherwise, I really have had no major problems. It connects really well to both the internet as well as to my phone. Pairing it to my phone has been really seamless from a hotspot perspective. And it keeps up to date. And yeah, it's really been a great little workhorse for the little bit of stuff that I do with it.
Yeah, and I think if you don't like the 9.7 inches on the Duet, you can go for the Pixel Slate, that it will give you now 12 point something inches, and it will give you the tablet factor. It will give you all those advantages, a little bit more, but it's a really, really solid option if you still want a tablet but think that the 9.7 is going to be a small for you.
Yeah, there's ones out there. If you look at, say, like the Asus Chromebook Flip C436, that one's really good if you're just going to live off of your Chromebook. If you want one with a big display, the Acer 715 has a nice large visual display. It feels more like a laptop than I think pretty much any other Chromebook. And if you're looking for a 2-in-1, and I like the 2-in-1 format, especially with Chromebooks, the Spin 713 is really hard to go wrong with, and it's got definitely a larger display than the 10 does, or the Duet does. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with Chromebooks anymore. It really is, I think.
Yeah. So just a couple notes here. The Chromebook Duet that I have, the Lenovo here, that Art's talking about, I was recently testing a Raspberry Pi 400. Don't ask. And so over to my side, I do have a little Raspberry Pi that I'm playing with. And so I bought a portable monitor to match that. And wouldn't you know it, I plugged in the Duet into the 15-inch monitor, the portable monitor that I purchased for the Raspberry Pi. And bingo, the Raspberry, the portable monitor clicked into the into the Chromebook Duet, and I was able to immediately share screens, do everything on the larger screen, and I could mirror it, I could extend it, and it was also powering the Duet. So it actually ended up charging the Duet, because there is only a single port. That's one of the limitations of an affordable Chromebook like this. There's only a single USB-C port, but it was charging the Duet. So it actually worked out beautifully. So if I ever do want to go take this little Duet and set up at a coffee shop some point after the pandemic is over, I could just take my portable monitor, which is a 15-inch monitor, plug that puppy in, plug it into the Duet, and I've got a 15-inch monitor side by side with the little 9-inch monitor, and I can go to town. I'm really, really pleased for people who really need a strong, workhorse in this form factor. Really great. Art, did you have something else you want to say?
No, just the other thing you mentioned about the USB-C charging, we're talking about specific devices, but if there was one thing on a device that would be mandatory for me anymore, it's USB-C charging. Because having a smartphone with a USB-C port on it, having a Chromebook with a USB-C port, just being able to carry one charger and know that it's going to work for everything just is so much nicer than carrying the laptop bricks around and things like that. I think I lost at least 5 pounds worth of weight just out of cables and wall warts from charging devices.
Yeah, something that I've done is I've actually gone out and bought the little adapter tips. I was actually trying to grab it here so that I could show, but any micro USB cables that I have a little, this cost me probably $10 for about 5 of them on Amazon. And you're able to it's got a USB-C tip. And so, you can plug in micro USB items. It all then is USB-C. And because of that, now I have micro, mini USB port, adapters like this, and it's very convenient to just have one USB-C adapter that can go ahead and take care of those items. So I've been pretty pleased with that, just generally. All right, Matt, what is your first selection from our list?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little different direction here. And this actually maybe, is not necessarily a gift you want to get for someone else, but something you want to get for yourself right now. If you're in the holiday decorations world in terms of productivity there, because one of the most frustrating things was going around the house, turning off all your lights at the end of the night and turning them on back at the beginning of the day and keeping track of that. And so we've gotten a host of smart outlets and smart power strips, and those usually I have an Amazon Echo Dot, and so go with the ones that work with those. Amazon sells those now, and so you can control all of them obviously from your phone, but you also can control them with Alexa, and power them on, and also set them on timers as you normally do. And so having that just set up to work kind of on its own and not having to think about that saves me a lot of time around the holidays. And so if you haven't migrated to that way of handling Christmas decorations and holiday decorations and lights, that is a certain time saver.
I couldn't agree with you more. I haven't set it up this year, but last year I had set up with I think they're V-Sync switches. So I had a set of Christmas tree lights, living room lights, and I tied it to voice prompts on Madame A. So I would say Madame A, Christmas mode, and the lights would go on and everything. And then I had Grinch mode and everything would turn back off. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't speak more highly of the wireless smart plugs, or the smart plugs is generally, and being able to just tie all of these pieces. We've put a line of lights across our entire roof line, and we're in a townhouse, so we don't have a normal roof because we have a roof deck, and so it's the full length of the space. So it's just kind of just a it's a guardrail from falling off the roof. And so we actually were able to kind of shove the LED lights along the perimeter, and it's wireless. So now you could just, tell whether it's Google Assistant or, the Amazon Echo device or whatnot, to just turn them on. They will go ahead and execute those. And we have 17-foot high ceilings in our main level because it's a loft. And so, that's not the kind of thing you want to kind of switch out. So we actually got smart LED bulbs for those, and they are capable of color changing. So
Right.
They have like holiday settings, and so we can actually turn those to red and green, and they can like dance and that kind of thing. And I feel like it's been one of the best purchases. They are not as bright, so if you these, I believe these are TP-Links, and so they are color changing TP-Links, and I will try to find a link to them for the show notes for everybody. But the goal was to be able to have these, color change, because we like to have them 4th of July colors and, like that kind of thing. But the brightness of the white, what we consider white light, is immense. Like they're amazing white. When they go to color, they are a little bit dimmer. I've noticed that across the board. Our porch light is the same color changing TP-Link versions, and they're just a little bit dimmer. I'm not quite sure why the LEDs maybe doesn't have as many LEDs inside, jam packed inside there because of the colors. So just something for people to take, to heart. Okay, so with that comes my choice. My first choice is unless anybody had anything else to say. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you all off. No? Okay, good. So my first choice in this round is a product set of called Luxophor. And I really, really am quite pleased with these. And so I'm going to show them on screen so that you can kind of get a better idea here. But what they do is they're a whole kind of series of products, and they do a number of different things. And again, we'll put links to these in the show notes along with all the gift and gear guides that we looked at. So don't worry about that. The goal here, though, is like this Luxophor flag is in essence a little indicator light that tells you when you are in a meeting, for example, or whether you're in a live stream, or maybe you're just in focus mode and you want to let other people know in your area not to disturb you. Well, this little device just triggers, and you can have it set up automated. You can do all kinds of fun things to do that. Now, the Luxophor Bluetooth, the one to the right of that, is one that, of course, is wireless, and so you can actually like put it up in another room. And when it goes a particular color, it can tell context and that kind of thing. So these are just these little controlled LED, indicators, and they can just let people know about different things. Now, once you get down to the next set of products, I have no idea about their active noise cancellation headphones. That's a new product to me. But the Pomodoro Timer, they have a Pomodoro Timer, and it kind of has that same level of sophistication regarding its ability to, set up your own time schedules, your own Pomodori, and really set it up in a way that works for you. Now, the Luxophor Cube, that is for meeting rooms. And so you can actually give meeting room status if the meeting room is available or not available for particular reasons. So it's just a really great product set, and I'm just so pleased with the ability to just have a little light shine behind my system, so that when I'm on, I know that everyone else around me at least knows not to disturb me, even though they still will. It's nice to it's nice to know that I'm communicating that in that way. So that's my first round is that suite of products from Luxophor. They're affordable for what they're doing, and they're a really great set of products in that category. All right, with that brings us around to our.
See, but that brings me the idea of put the TP links on all the house and tell the lady, hey, this is podcast time. Turn all the light bulbs into red. That the question is if then they're going to come anyways and say, hey, the red is not working well for us. Can you pick another color and interrupt us anyway? But hey.
Yeah, I think that using these bulbs and smart, you could just use a smart plug and plug in a light bulb and just that put in a red light bulb, white light bulb, whatever you want. But it just is an indicator, a color-based indicator of what you're doing, and and I think that's just really, really useful for everybody.
Yeah, and that it's actually, there's this study done where like multinational across a variety of countries where they tested what they were calling flow light. And the idea there was the same thing, that people would have a light on their desk and that it would show up. And what they found is that it reduced interruptions by almost 50% when people were using that flow light. And when the study ended, people just kept using them. And so this was, an academic study. So what they built was not something that would look nice or, be very functional. But I love the flag option, because you could imagine, should we go back into the office at some point, that those could be really helpful for people.
All right, Augusto, what's your next pick?
So I'm going now to go to the opposite side, and I'm going to pick two products.
Might I call it the dark side?
Maybe. The first one is a product that was on Kickstarter called Analog. And I have had a love-hate relationship with index card and 3x5, and I love them, and I wish they really work for me, but they don't. That is fine. But the Analog was something that came this year that was interesting for the people who love paper. Basically, you will have a series of index cards and a beautiful wooden thing that put on the desk, and then you have three kinds of cards. What is going to be today, what is going to be next, what is going to be someday. It is interesting for the people who wants to see that can be replicated on a digital form, but I thought the product was really, really beautiful. The second one is one that is called
Augusto. So just a couple of pointers about the analog system. So this is built by Ugmonk, and Ugmonk is known for their really high-end desk and workwear. They have also, I think, some apparel for men and women. But the idea behind this particular product is for it to be super simple and for you to be able to kind of step away from your digital tools, or if you are working, this becomes a companion to it. And the device itself, the kind of holder, just holds cards. It's very simple. There is a magnetic card that actually lays on top of the other cards to keep them out of view. So this is really handy for being able to secure the other cards not in use and just to keep them out of view. So if you want to put them away at the end of the day, you can slide your card back in. They're high quality cards. As Augusto noted, there's a today, someday, and later. I believe, was that correct? Today, someday, later. There's also a visual signals card, which is kind of a legend that you can use to fill in the dots to the left-hand side of the particular items that you add. So your task list items, you can identify where in the process they are by virtue of filling in those circular pieces. If you flip the card over, there's actually a dot matrix card, I believe, on the back side, kind of graph paper, and you can draw on that side as well. So really, I think, affordable solution, and really a nice, elegant piece for you to add to your productivity system. And if you are trying to encourage someone in your life to kind of embrace a productivity system, this is super simple, and it seems like it's a really nice product set. I will note that this was on Kickstarter. I'm showing you the Kickstarter website right now, and they are allowing pre-orders right now. So if you do want to gift it for someone, you can put these into pre-order. They finished their successful Kickstarter campaign, and they are now shipping slower than they anticipated, of course, because there's going to be some issues there, but they really have ramped up their shipping of the product, and they're really nice. So, Augusto, move on with your second choice in the card analog space.
So the second one is called 3x5 or 3x5live.com. And what I like about this one is they also go into the card. They put the card on the horizontal way, and they just use one card per day. But you have on the back of the card the task you want to accomplish and the notes. And on the front of the card, then you get a point of gratitude. Okay, so in the morning, what is the gratitude that you have about the day, AM gratitude, and then in the afternoon, what are the wins? And what they're trying to say, or what they said, that is really what I like, is, this is a way to keep that, not only what you're grateful for that is happening, but also what are the wins of the day. When I talk about the impact journal and the product that I have, one of the things that I told people is when you review your gratitude in the morning as well as the night, one of the things you discover a lot of times is that it's not that the day was horrible, is that there was this period of time between 3 and 4:30 that was terrible, and you're throwing everything else that happened in that day into that bucket. So having that card with what you're grateful for, what were the wins of the day, could really help you, especially the days that you're struggling with that.
And just to add something to that, Augusto, your last point, which would be a book recommendation from me, which I don't want to jump out of line here, but is a book called When: The Secrets of Timing by Daniel Pink. Daniel Pink's written a number of other books, but one of the points he makes is that the endings of events encode our memories. And so we often put greater emphasis when we remember something on the peak or the end of a day. And so I like your point here that this can kind of balance out and reframe that memory, because otherwise our natural cognitive processes are going to cause us to encode certain memories, particularly the most intense moments or the end, as the most significant representative of the full event versus what might be something good that happened, but it was kind of small and not super intense.
Right.
I'm actually rather interested in this because I'm playing and testing a new scanner, and so the more paper things in my life end up being fodder for me to use the scanner, and so I might just be buying these just so that I can go ahead and both test the concept. I'll also note that Dr. Martin Seligman, I'm sorry, the considered the founding father of modern positive psychology. He talks about this idea of using gratitude as a mechanism for improving one's life. Note that is variable. So the studies that people have done on this subject, many people just kind of conflate the reality of it, but they say, oh, well, if you keep a gratitude journal, then you're going to be happier, which you all know I dislike the word happy. And so, but there's greater levels of contentment and fulfillment when folks keep gratitude journals, but there's actually a rate of diminishing return after a particular time frame. So you need to both pause and restart the gratitude tracking at particular intervals in order to keep that same level of either contentment or fulfillment or whatever kinds of positive affects you achieve by virtue of that gratitude tracking. So just be mindful of that. If you keep gratitude tracking all the time, then eventually you're not going to find the benefits from it. And that ultimately defeats the purpose because you're just doing tracking for tracking's sake. And I know what tracking for tracking's sake looks like because I do a lot of it. And and so just be aware of that reality there. All right. With that, let's move on to you, Art. What is your second choice for us?
Well, I'm kind of a toss here, so I'm going to let one sit till later on, and I'm actually going to show you 4 because I'm going low ball at this point. We have lots of expensive stuff, but one of the challenges is always find something inexpensive for people. So I'm going to give you recommendations of 4 writing utensils. Simple things, under $25. So the classic Parker Jotter. If you're into old school hardcore, this thing's going to work every time. You run over it with a truck, it doesn't care. Parker Jotter. You can usually get these for about $10 to $15. If you want to go a little nicer, I've given these away as gifts in the past. This is called a Retro 51. It's a little bit chubbier, but it has a wonderful mechanism, and it has probably the smoothest writing refill you will find. It is an absolutely beautiful pen. What's nice about it is they have all different styles and collections of them. I have them in copper. I have them in brass. They have them in like World War II planes, decks of cards. They have one for physicians that's a glow-in-the-dark skeleton on it. If you're a pencil person, a mechanical pencil person, I would suggest you look into what's called a Kuru Toga. A Kuru Toga pencil. Different sizes. Why is this so important? This smart little pencil has a mechanism in the end of it that automatically rotates the lead as you write. So instead of having to constantly spin the pencil in your fingers to get to the right side of the lead, it's constantly keeping it sharpened and even for you. And if you want to get somebody into the world of fountain pens, which is a giant rabbit hole, I recommend the Pilot Metropolitan. It's a basic fountain pen. It's under $25. You can find them in different configurations. It is probably the smoothest writing fountain pen for under $50 that I've ever found. I live by this thing. I keep it with me all the time. It uses nice, even flow of ink, standard Pilot ink. And it's a great way if somebody says they want to do something nicer, something like this, inexpensive, gets them started. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. So there's 4 recommendations for you under $25, writing utensils. Keep it basic, but a good way to show somebody you appreciate them.
Yeah, I've got a jotter for my on-plane bag, my work travel bag for plane writing, because if you do put it in a fountain pen in a compressurized cabin is not a good thing. I've learned that one too many times. I do actually have a Pilot Metropolitan too, and that's sitting in a drawer somewhere. I need to pull that back out. But I do like it. I've been playing around with my Everlast Rocket notebooks for quite some time, so I haven't had a chance really to use my fountain pens as much. But what I'd like to do is find the friction gel ink and see if there's a way to transfer the gel ink over to a cartridge, because then I would be able to write in the Rocketbook fluidly with my fountain pens. So,
I love the Fisher Space ink because of that, because they always flow. Doesn't matter if it's cold, hot, doesn't matter, it flows. So I tend to get those maybe even nicer pens and just replace the cartridge for that, and then use the ink that I like and that it works well.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you're watching me flail around because I was trying to find my Fisher pen which has fallen on the floor. The reason why I want to find it though is an important thing. I'm all about things that work well together. The Fisher Space Pen refill works in the Retro 51 and the Jotter, because the Fisher Space Pen has a cap that goes on the end that makes it a Parker refill. So you can use the same refill across 3 different pen configurations. And if you want something that's going to write on anything, then yeah, the Fisher, absolutely. Standard Parker. There's a Parker refill that you can get. I'm all about the tips. This is what's called a Schmidt refill. It's a German-made refill. It's called an Easy Flow. And this thing writes like butter. It is just spectacular the way it writes. It's a little bit more expensive on the refill side, but absolutely worth it. So that, again, this is the kind of thing, like I said, a couple years ago, I gave out Retro 51s as Christmas presents, and people were just floored because they come in beautiful packaging. They write so well. They feel high end. They feel like quality, and it's a nice way to show somebody you appreciate them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Art. Matt, what's your next choice?
Okay, I'm going to go with a software that I've been using recently called Mural. You can access it at mural.co. And it's essentially a simple way of describing it is that it's a virtual whiteboarding application. But what I've recently been using it in a number of large group sessions. So had 70 people on it. And it's classic where you double click, Post-it note emerges, you can type into that, you can paste into that. Can change formatting and coloring and everything. But what I like about it is it has a whole library of frameworks that you can use that are pre-built that organize the virtual whiteboard space in a way that facilitates the conversation in ways that are really interesting. And they have in this last one, for example, I created a whole bunch of little red and green circles that then could be dragged and dropped onto other places to indicate voting and preferences. And so that I find if you're trying to facilitate any type of group, particularly where you're trying to get a whole bunch of people working on something at one time, there's a lot of really interesting ways to use that application to achieve that. And so I'd give that a try, particularly in our, it spices up the Zoom conversations, brings them to another level to have something where people are all engaging and seeing from each other at one time.
Yeah, I think that there are so many different tools out there. We're going to get to more software after the break, but I'm really excited to talk about some of the productivity software that's out there and that you can gift to folks, and certainly team collaboration software. I mean, I guess it sounds like a gift to the team by getting that for everybody in that sense. So fantastic, great choice there. And so for my second choice, I'm going to continue in the physical hardware space and talk a little bit about the Essington Glass. And so if you're not aware of the Essington Glass is in essence a very fancy flow state timer. Some people might consider it a form of Pomodoro timer, but it looks in that hourglass shape, and it uses solid iron as in these little, they call them nanospheres, but basically a little little pills, little beads, and they come in a wide variety of options. There is a medium one, a large one, and you can obviously buy both of them together. They're currently on sale half price for the medium-sized one. I wonder if the large is also half price. Yeah, the large is even less. You're saving 66% right now on those. But in essence, you'll realize because they're iron, you can use this little magnetic piece to be able to stop the timer at any particular interval. And so it's just a really, really well-designed, beautiful desk piece that also has a function built into it. And so it's built by a gentleman who, wanted to put this thing together and has worked very hard to put together both the Essington Glass as well as the time stopper. So I just feel like if you're looking for a nice gift that's going to be something someone enjoys putting on their desk and showing off, this is the kind of thing that you would want to purchase for someone. And obviously you're going to drop about $99 USD, but it's a really nice product that's going to last a while.
I had to say, I was just kind of like, oh, look, it's an hourglass. And then he slid the magnet on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, you got me.
Yep. Yeah,
you got me. That's cool.
Yeah, that's where I got to like, oh, that's so nice.
Is there a way to slow the flow without completely stopping it to affect how long the timer is, or is it just
only for Doctor Strange?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, obviously you could use different magnets maybe to be able to slow it by applying pressure on the center point. But that's a physics challenge that I am not up for. But clearly the time stopper seals it off by basically creating a magnetic stoppage of the beads in the center there of the nanospheres. But yeah, so it's a really nice product, and I can't speak more highly of it. And it's a strong piece of glass. It's not going to break easily, and it's just nice to be able to have a timer that doesn't have to be recharged. You don't have to worry about any of those pieces, and you can just get into flow and stay there. So just something that I think a lot of people might enjoy, and something that a lot of people might enjoy gifting to someone who perhaps doesn't know how to keep time. And you want to kind of say, hey, here goes a timer. This is how long this amount of time is. So with that is the Essington Glass 2.0 with the solid iron nanospheres and the time stopper. All right, we're going to do one more round before we get on to our midway point. Augusto, what is your third choice? And you are muted.
So my third choice is an Apple Watch portable cable or portable charger. Okay, the one I have is called the Pantheon portable charger. It is really tiny. It has a USB or micro USB charger, and it's a fantastic thing to have in the bag. It's around $35 right now, and basically allows you to, if you're traveling, you can use it. You can keep it a charger in the bag and charge your Apple Watch everywhere. It's been with me for a while, and it is really an incredible toy. And if I know people who struggle with the battery and travel and all this is a fantastic gift to give them.
Any thoughts, questions for Augusto? I know that I have been paying a lot of attention to the Amazon Sidewalk program because of the idea that, you know, Tile devices and otherwise would be extended by virtue of the Sidewalk bridge. And that's always been kind of a limiting factor for those devices because, you know, if they're Bluetooth enabled and they go off the grid, how are you supposed to find them again? And that could potentially allow that to happen. And so I'm weighing the privacy and security implications of Amazon Sidewalk and whether or not when they do enable that on, we have a bunch of, you know, Amazon devices around the house, whether or not we would actually allow that to happen. And so because, you know, it would be nice to have a Tile on the dog. We have a blind dog, and while he doesn't go anywhere without us, it's a possibility that at some point, you know, I could put him on the side of the house to go walk around the yard and he could wander off and I'd want to be able to find him again and he won't be able to find me. So it's just one of those things. So there are some really interesting capabilities to using those devices in that way. So very cool there. All right.
I think what I would be looking for, Augusto, and I don't know if you've seen this, but is when it comes to the Apple Watch, where I've run into some constraints, is using it for exercising. I recently did kind of like an ultra marathon, and the battery didn't last for the whole thing, and so it stopped, you know, charging. And so if there was a way to have a portable charger that would actually work while it's on, so that you'd be able to, which I realize is problematic because the charging port is, you know, on your wrist. But if that would be, I don't know if you've seen anything that solves that issue of basically if you're trying to use it for an extended duration, be able to, you know, continue charging it midway through without taking it off.
I haven't. That is basically a wrist charger. I have not seen that. To be honest with you, I don't know if there is extended battery for the Apple Watch, but it theoretically should be possible. I have not seen it, but now I will be paying attention for that.
Yeah, I have a Galaxy Frontier S3. And one of the recommendations they give with that is if you're going to use, like, say, for example, do something like I would never do, which is an ultra marathon, and need to track that. I'm not getting out of the chair. Let's just be clear about this. Okay. But if I had that distance, one of the things they recommend is shutting down the Wi-Fi, shutting down the Bluetooth, shutting down everything else that you don't need on there. And then you can optimize the power that way. But I think you're right. Yeah. I think we're going to see more. Not only Apple, but also Google, since they have Fitbit now, we're going to see more of a push to that battery optimization because the health aspects do require that constant feed of data. I mean, I even look at the 1 hour a day that mine gets charged while I'm sitting at the desk. That's 1 hour of data that I miss out on. And I don't do it overnight because I like to get the sleep tracking in. So I think you're absolutely right. We're going to get to a point where somebody's going to have some sort of a secondary charger, or maybe, I don't know, one that works off of the top or the side or something like that. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
All right. With that, Art, what's your, I guess, third choice today, which really is like your fifth, sixth now.
Did you expect me to follow rules? You know, this is not the case.
Not at all.
Okay. So I've talked about this actually in the past, but I found it's even more relevant. This is called an Epika travel adapter, and it's designed for international travel. So if we ever leave the house again, you have the ability to, just by sliding one slot, you can create a regular outlet, or you can do an international plug. And that's nice. You have the ability to plug it in anywhere. What I like about this, though, especially in our current environment, is if I have it in this configuration, just regular US, there's a USB-C charging port. There's a regular place for me to plug in an outlet, and there's 4 2.4 volt USB charging ports on the bottom. So one little device, and I can take it anywhere in the house, plug it in, and charge 4 USB devices and my laptop all at the same time with one little portable brick. This is, again, one of those things that's under $25, but it has proven itself to be invaluable, especially here. So
that's fantastic.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah. Remember that if you are doing any level of travel overseas, just between countries, even in various parts of Europe, you will get different power voltages and amperages, and those will fry the adapters.
I actually used this on the plane coming back from Germany. I had it plugged in between the seat for my wife and I, and we both plugged our phones into it and charged our phones on the flight over. So we didn't even have to worry about anything else. And honestly, if this thing gets torched, it's $25. I'll get another one. So,
yeah, the other really huge value to if you're doing any long distance travel is a splitter. Like you can, if your device allows you to plug into one device and have two 3.5 millimeter outputs or inputs, whatever that is, you're able to then put your headphones in and both listen to the same screen at the same time. That is a huge benefit for long haul flights, for long train rides, those kinds of things where you have two people and you want to kind of whether that's two kids, couple, whatever, just keeping them focused on the screen. And the headphone earbuds plugged into a splitter is just so helpful in those cases. But great choice there, Art. All right, Matt, what's your third round choice?
So I'm going to go with a early adopter option here, which is the Amazon Halo, which, to go back to our conversation about wearables, it's a wrist. It's not a watch. It doesn't have a screen, so it's a wrist wearable that tracks obviously movement and exercise in a way that they claim to be is better than calculating steps. And I know a few of the wearables now are moving in that direction of moving beyond just calculating steps to actual exertion and understanding how many calories are being burned there. So it does that. But what I think is more interesting is it actually does tone analysis and tone recognition. And so there's a microphone which you can turn on or off if you want to, but you can turn the tone recognition on, and then it will pick up your tone and evaluate that for emotions as you go throughout the day. So you can see at different points, what tone you were expressing, and, use that as kind of feedback for you to guide, okay, did I mean to come across angry there? And so I think that's really interesting. It's very early stage, the reviews, it was on request early access just a week ago. I think they just came off of that. And it is interesting because it's selling for now. I think it was at $69, but now it's at $99. But there's also to get the full app suite that kind of corresponds to that. I think that they're charging like $3.99 per month. So there is a subscription fee there. The other thing that's interesting about it is it allows you with your phone app to take a picture of yourself, and it does body composition analysis that it claims, and again, I haven't looked into all the science behind it, but claims is much more accurate than even those scales that you can go on that tell you, body fat analysis, body muscle. So I think that's an interesting thing, particularly as you think about the applications of integration with Echo and in the workplace of understanding how, emotional intelligence and the use of tone. And we're already seeing that with Grammarly trying to get into that for written text, but this is an opportunity to do that, kind of with the verbal text. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think 2021 insurance companies are looking more into these devices. Our insurance company now is offering a discount if we are willing to share our what we're doing, movements and those kind of things, that data with them. And they're even, giving you rebate if you buy their, a device so they can track that information for their own benefit, for yours, I mean. And then but it's interesting to see how when these devices start coming, and the Fitbit came and the Apple Watch came and all this came, we are now getting so used to this and really getting into the mainstream, into understanding what are some of the benefits with this, and it's starting to see really interesting uses for these things. For me in particular, I've been saying lately that I've been trying to be better at meditation and tracking the meditation, and as soon as I start tracking it in here, then it was an easy thing for me to do it consistently. What was the difference? Nothing, other than I now track it. So if that helped for others, that's a good tip.
Yeah, the value of tracking is inherent in the fact that you're tracking it. You're forced to see the numbers, and you can't lie to yourself. I mean, you can try, but the reality is that when you see the numbers, you're either motivated to make change or you're not. And for those of you who really do want to make change based on some kind of active tracking, whether it's passive or active tracking process, is making sure the numbers are relevant to something you can change. Right? When the numbers are irrelevant to what you can change, then it becomes demotivating, and it just becomes another number you see, and you stop really complying.
Yeah, relevant to your change and also relevant to your end goal. And that has been some of the challenges with the fitness trackers to date, is that they track something, but it doesn't necessarily equate or help you lead to that end goal. I think also what's interesting with this device, in theory, that you could practice hard conversations on it and see how you're being perceived, how accurately that translates to the real conversation. But they have in the mobile app where you can say something and it will give you that sentiment analysis there too. So some interesting use cases here that go beyond the kind of traditional wearable device for health related.
Yeah, from a productivity perspective, I've been doing a lot of email text-based analysis, seeing how emails are, how many people respond to emails, whether or not those emails are in a particular tone based on using a tool. I don't use Grammarly, but I use other tools that kind of check your tone, sentiment, whether or not you're using really long sentences like I want to do. And so just learning how to structure those in shorter sentences. I'm big on having sections and bolding the appropriate sentences in my emails, so that when someone goes through a long email from me, they're capable of seeing the redux very quickly, and then if they want to read the rest of the detail, they can. And reading those kinds of different data analyses, Boomerang has a technology that does this for your email, and it kind of gives you I think it's called Respondable is the feature, and it shows you how respondable your email is. So this being added into the Amazon Halo seems like a really great choice for someone who in your life you want to gift something to, who maybe has a tone problem. But the funny part that Augusto was talking about was that the fact that insurance companies have been doing this for a while. A lot of car insurance companies have been giving these little OBD2 devices that you can plug into your vehicles, and they would be analysis hard stops, distance driven, as well as any number of other metrics that they're picking up from the driver. And of course, that's problematic on a whole number of levels. Think of getting into an accident, and whether that particular that port data is now discoverable by opposing counsel. Those kinds of things all kind of cropped up as soon as that came to bear. And now we have these Amazon Halo bands, which are basically collecting personal health data. And so I'm just gonna sit back and watch the litigation happen around insurance companies wanting to see for in a past life, I did a bit of work in the ERISA space, and in that particular area of law, people who are denied or terminated from plans from long-term or short-term disability, many times these insurance companies will come out and they will have PIs basically monitor those folks day in and day out, take photographs, video. If they see someone walking around without their cane or without crutches, those kinds of things, they'll kick them off their benefits. And so I can see someone inadvertently buying something like the Halo, and then a year later when renewal comes up, then the insurance company saying, hey, you know what, we'd like to collect the Halo data, and do they actually have permission to be able to do so? And has the person, when they sign that long-term disability or short-term disability policy, given them rights to do so up front? So these are some of the gnarly issues that in a workplace productivity perspective start to bleed into the legal space. And so it'll be curious to kind of see that all play out.
Well, there was actually a whole edition in Wired magazine about how this data was being used in criminal cases, and so it's already happening, in a slightly, tangential space. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So since you brought up a band, I'm gonna for my final item in this point before we take the break, I'm gonna talk about a band also, but with a completely different use case. What I'm gonna show you guys is the Ember. The Ember Wave Bracelet is a new product on the market, and it's pricey. It's at $249 currently in USD, and what it does is it helps to warm and cool the body through this little bracelet on your wrist, and we already we know the science bears out fairly closely that if you have heat touch your skin or something cold touch your skin, you can create a galvanic response, and your body will respond to that by cooling or heating itself appropriately. Well, this Ember Wave Bracelet, I believe, uses something akin to that. I'm not a biologist by any likeness, and so and my understanding of human anatomy is limited. But the idea here is probably something akin to that, where it, in essence, through this device can heat or cool you, which can be a huge benefit if you have all kinds of issues. So, for example, you're in an office environment or home environment working right now, and heating and cooling the place is difficult. I used to live in a building in New York City, and we had a boiler heater system, old building. It heated up, and the building, you had to open up the windows at times just because the building's heat would just get the apartment to a particular level, and it didn't matter what temperature it was in any individual apartment. It was just turning on the heater, and everyone would get pressure cooked until the boiler turned off. And so you could use some combination of opening up the window still, but this Ember Wave bracelet can then cool your body temperature. And I know lots of colleagues over time and coworkers over time who have, been in an office environment, they're just a little cooler than everybody else. And, I would be like, oh, the temperature's great. And they would be frigid. And so something like this could be a huge benefit to just heating you up so that you don't have the same response to other people in ambient temperatures. So cool product. It comes in silver, which says almost sold out right now. And there's also a version in rose gold. So it comes in a rose gold color as well as silver. You have a whole bunch of choices. You could get a travel case and all kinds of other fun things. So you don't have to wear it all the time, obviously, but just when activities demand for you to be able to go ahead and regulate your temperature. And of course, if you have some kind of obviously talk to your PCP or medical professional regarding that. But if you have other issues and conditions that cause you to run hot or run cool, this may actually be really useful for you in that sense. So I'm really interested to play around with one. They come with different bands for different activities. Say if you're working out and you don't want to sweat as much, maybe this can help. I don't know. But there's all kinds of interesting uses for it. And I just thought someone in your life might enjoy it. So with that, we have reached our halfway point in the show. And so we're going to take a break with our sponsor, W3c Web Services, and we'll be back after the break. Here we go.
Did you know half of small businesses don't have websites and half don't make it past 1 year in business? Are these stats correlated? We're not sure, but we think you should have a website. W3c Web Services provides affordable managed WordPress website hosting, along with VPS, domain name registration, and other small business-focused services. For listeners of this podcast, you can book a free 30-minute digital marketing strategy session when you purchase a new hosting plan, $150 value. Once you purchase your new hosting plan, forward the receipt to support@w3cinc.com with the podcast title in the subject line of the email message, and we'll get you scheduled for your digital marketing strategy session. Head over to anythingbutidle.com/webhosting and get started with your small business website today. And now, back to your show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Anything But Idle. We have Matt Plummer and Art Gelwix here to talk about the Holiday Gift and Gear Guide 2020. And we just finished our first round before the break. And now we're going to go into our second phase of the show, where I'm still going to talk about some physical items, but we're going to really work into our maybe software gift items, maybe apps that you might like for folks, and then maybe some book options, book opportunities to gift to folks, because productivity books are always a good gift for me. Hint, hint. But let's get into our next round then. Augusto, what is your first choice in our second round of items?
And I'm going to pick again low cost or lower cost thing, and it is a $975 on Amazon, and it's something called the Sugu case, and it's basically something that you put on the back of your iPad, okay, and you can put the pencil, the Apple Pencil on it. Yes, the Apple Pencil 2 will magnetically get in the top, but if you want to take it to places and all that, then you can put it in there. Be sure that it's not going to be. I have seen so many people buying a second or a third or more of those Apple Pencils just because they have no place to put it. So it's a $9.99 simple solution, and it's been great. And as Art was saying earlier, I opened my Amazon page to see, and it says that I have given this thing away 20 times. So apparently it has worked. I have nobody send it back to me yet.
Yep, I've been eyeing that, and Augusto and I have talked about this concept of putting some kind of piece on the backside of the case that I have for my iPad, and just it being kind of squishy enough so that it lays flat has always been a concern for me. And because of one of the things I'm going to talk about today, I'm now even more kind of considering how that all works in line with it. And so, yeah, I may end up getting one, just because my Apple Pencil does float around now more than I would like it to, and I think that it's an easy stocking stuffer for folks, to buy that little case piece, and it just adheres to the iPad case. So I like that idea. And there are different ones on Amazon. There are different versions of them. I know Augusto has shown me several versions on Amazon that kind of fit that mold where you could place them in.
Yeah, and it is really, there are some more expensive. This has worked really well. I have, as I said, a bunch of them and give them away. And it's a solution knowing that you're not going to lose the thing.
Fantastic. And now Art. Art, what's your first choice in the second round?
Okay. This one's from the House of Bezos. Amazon Kindle Unlimited. And it doesn't mean you actually have to have an Amazon Kindle. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on desktop. What it is, it's basically, I think it's about $10 a month, and it gives you access to about 1 million titles through Amazon. It gives you access to a huge collection of audiobooks. It just an amazing set, and it's all falls within this $10. So if you think about it like the Spotify of books, it's basically that. I read a lot of science fiction books. I'm a geek, go figure. So if I were to just buy those books outright, I would, blow through $50, $75, $100 in a month without any problem, because they're like popcorn and potato chips. You just rip through them. Something like the Kindle Ultimate or Unlimited account, $10, and I can just keep reading through the books. Historical literature, classic literature. If you've got somebody who's a bibliophile, or somebody who likes audiobooks and doesn't want to pay the $15, $20, $30 for Audible, this is a good way to get into that, and you can gift it right to them. I was actually poking around on the site trying to find it because it's not the easiest thing to find, but you can get somebody a 6-month subscription for under $50. It's a really nice Christmas present, especially for somebody who's a reader. And it works great if you have a Kindle, like I said, or if you don't. I use it off of my phone all the time so I can keep reading wherever I am. So Amazon Kindle
one of the best
Unlimited.
deals I have done with my kids is that every book, every time they finish a book, I buy another one for them. And it is a rule. If you finish the book and you can prove you can finish the book, I will make the expense of buy you another one. But I have give that to my oldest daughter because she consumes so many books that is, it's still the best deal I have made, but it can get quite expensive, as you said.
And that's one of the things I like about it is when you find an author that you like that is writing a series, often that author's books will continue in Kindle Unlimited with the additional ones that they're bringing out. And I know a lot of the authors I read will go through and they'll say, hey, when we get 100 reviews, I'll write the next book. I mean, a lot of these are that type of a episodic book. Prof Organizer is asking, I'm curious what kind of impact Kindle Unlimited has for the author's royalties. Honestly, I don't know. I wish I did. I have a feeling it's probably similar to what Spotify does to authors, which is not good.
No. So they have to read a certain. They have to go ahead, Augusto.
It's not terrible actually because they can track how long you spend on the book, and then you get paid on a pool of how much, depending on how much time the people spend on your book. You get paid a percentage of what they collect on the Amazon Unlimited. So it's not as good as they buy your book, but it's not as bad as Spotify or not getting paid.
I have on occasion gone back, and if I've read something through Unlimited and I've liked what I've read, I've then circled back and purchased that book because I want that author to have that full credit for it. So it's kind of a way to sample the content. In many cases, I read it fully, and then I like the book so much, I want to keep it. Because the one downside is you can only have so many books out at any given time. It's not like you get the entire library. I think it's 10 books at one time. So you're always trading one in to get another one.
Fantastic. So with that, Joseph Varkeys has joined us. So I'm going to bring him up, and I'm going to introduce him before we move over to Matt for his first choice of the second round. And so with that, Joseph Varkeys is a certified neurostrategist and peak performance coach, and his clients call him the breakthrough engineer. He is passionate about empowering others to stay focused, driven, and living their highest potential. For the past 18 years, he's been immersed in the science of peak performance, productivity, and gamification, and has become a thought leader in the area of peer accountability. Since 2005, Joseph has been leading Success Circles, a peer momentum accountability program for entrepreneurs and coaches. In it, members huddle up one-to-one and in teams to win the game of life, work, and play. And so welcome to Anything But Idle, Joseph.
Yay. Hey, Ray, Augusto, Art, Matt. Great to be here amongst all these extraordinary leaders.
Wonderful. Good to have you. We have been going kind of around the table and choosing particular items off of our gift and gear guide, our master list in that Google document, and just talking about those. And so with that, Matt, you are next up. And then Joseph, you'll be able to pick an item off the list that we haven't already talked about and go with it. So Matt, go for it.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm going to pick up on Art's theme of books and go a little bit of a different route towards more of the physical copy here. So this is Book of the Month Club or bookofthemonth.com. You can access it. And this is a great gift for someone who likes reading a lot, but is also, wants to be exposed to new books, but doesn't necessarily know like which book to pick. And so I actually got this from my grandmother last year who, like Art, you were saying, burns through tons of books, participates in an actual live gathering of book club, and is always looking for new recommendations. And so what's neat about this is they present a few different options for you. You can select or just have them send you their list for that month. If you don't like it, you can exchange that and go with a different title there. And so it's a way for someone who's an avid reader who's looking to be exposed to new books, you can, it's a good way to keep them excited about what they're reading and keep them engaged in the reading process.
Fantastic. I know that I talked about this the last time we did a gift guide, which was during Productivity Cast. So during the Productivity Cast gift guide episode, folks can jump back to that. It was just a couple episodes ago on the Productivity Cast podcast. I talked about the idea of doing of gifting library memberships to family. Now, hear me out. So, if you live in a particular area, you may not get the same library catalog digitally, electronically or otherwise, as other folks. And so giving them the gift of, say, a New York Public Library card or Chicago's Public Library or one of the other major public library systems, they're inexpensive, and they give you access to things like LinkedIn Learning or the lynda.com platform, the electronic library catalog, which can include ebook, audiobook, movies. So if someone like a parent or an elderly grandparent or something like that doesn't have Netflix or something else like that, they can get all access to all of those services from one library account from a major public library. It could be a really inexpensive and wonderful gift for that family member. So just something to consider. And it helps a public library, which we need public libraries. So just supporting a public library is a great thing. Any other thoughts before we move on? Otherwise, thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Actually, because of that comment on Productivity Cast, I went and got one for my daughter for where she was born. So she will get it in Christmas, and she don't know anything, but it's going to be, think about this. You get the people who move. It is a great thing to bring that, that connection of the memory of the nice memory of that happening. So
fantastic. All right, Joseph, what's your first choice for us? What's your first gift or gear guide choice?
So there are a couple of them. The one that my wife's birthday is coming up, so we're in conversation as far as what to get her. And one that I have in mind is an Aura Ring. And Aura Ring is kind of like the Halo. That's like the Amazon version, but it's a bracelet, I believe. But the Aura Ring itself is measures sleep. It's a ring you actually wear on your finger, and it's less friction, I find, overall. I don't have it per se yet, but I've had colleagues who have it. And one thing we're actively measuring in our household is getting quality sleep. Having two children around the house, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, can be a little challenging. So for me, it's hacking sleep. So the Aura Ring, the Halo, also considering that. And there are a few other things to it in alignment of getting more sleep that I can talk about for quite a bit of time. But those are the two that I'll stick with right now.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important for people to recognize that so many different devices out there now are doing sleep tracking. Now, none of them are going to be probably as accurate as having a sleep study done or otherwise, but they can be immensely useful. I've just been using my phone and a particular application on my phone for those purposes, and I've been remarkably surprised by the accuracy of the data just from being able to take in audio, movement, and otherwise from the phone. So I would presume that something like the Aura Ring would provide another layer of greater quality of that sleep data, so it can tell when you're having good sleep or poor sleep, and you being able to modify your behaviors based on that. Good sleep is so important. Speaking of book recommendations on that point, though, while we're playing with that, Matt had offered When from Daniel Pink, but there's another book called The Power of When by Dr. Michael Bruce. And I'll put this link in the show notes. But this is all about sleep and our different chrono. What does he call them? He calls them chronotypes. Well, he calls them something different than chronotypes. You're on point. I consider them chronotypes, but he actually mixes chronotyping with personality. And so it's kind of a blend between the two concepts, but it's a very, very interesting book. And I've found it to be very, very useful. If you go to thepowerofwhenquiz.com, it identifies your chrono personality or whatever he calls it. And there are 4 of them instead of the traditional 3. And it's just very, very useful for being able to help you with sleep. So Aura Ring from Joseph. Thank you, Joseph.
Cool.
And that brings me to the last choice in round 2. And what I'm going to talk about today is something that Matt noted in the document was cool. And I was like, oh, well, I actually own it, so I might as well show it to everybody, which is the Lark Bottle. And so this is the Lark Bottle. It is we have several of them in the household, and I'll explain why. So this is a water bottle. And I believe this one is like 14 or 16 ounces. I think this is the 16-ounce version. And what happens is when you press this little button on the top, it goes ahead. This is in travel mode, so it's off. But when you go ahead and press the button a single time, it goes through a cycle of using UVC LED lighting to kill anything that's inside of the bottle. It's a stainless steel construction, and it's a really fantastic bottle, and it's solid construction. We've had several in the household, and they've been pretty banged up over time, and they've pretty much done well. This particular model that we have, at least, allows for it claims 99.9999% of biocontaminants to be eliminated in the bottle itself. As I said before, it's stainless steel. You do have to hand wash it. You do not put this into the dishwasher. And so it's a great water purification system, and it self-cleans the bottle, and that's really useful. Oh, so it turns out it's 17 ounces, not 16 as I thought it was. But it's a really nice bottle. We've just found it to be really great. What I love most about this is that it has normal mode, which is the single press on the button, and then 60 seconds goes by and it goes ahead and does its thing. Now, say you're out on a hike and you come across a stream and you've run out of water. The Lark Bottle actually has something called Adventure Mode. And while I am not adventurous enough to use Adventure Mode, the Adventure Mode does allow you to double tap. So 2 taps on the top, and it activates a 3-minute cycle of this particular dose of a higher millijoules per centimeter, I think cubed, or squared, I guess, centimeters squared, of UVC lighting. And so it's supposed to do a higher level of purifying of the water. And I've not used it. Like I said, I'm just not brave enough. And but that's a really great function to be able to have. Now, the downsides. We have had the cap on these. This is we have a lot of these now because we have had to have the caps replaced several times by the company. They have been amazing about it, though. They have sent us new caps every time we've had a failure. They would just basically go into this weird red flashing state, and the LED lighting would just fail. So I think in the latest version of this, they've overcome that problem, and they don't have them as often, fail. But in the early forms of it, because I believe that we had gotten the like Kickstarter or Indiegogo versions very early on, we were having lots and lots of issues with those, and so we ended up getting several of these models. Over and over again, trying to make sure we could get them. Right now, I think we're in a good place. The battery lasts on this forever for me, and roughly about a month, maybe more than that, in just regular use. And it just sits in the background. It does its cleaning on a regular cycle. Add more water to it, go on about your day, and you're good to go. Now, do note that because it's stainless steel, it is removing the electron that would be otherwise bound to the water molecule. So you are losing some level of the mineral value that would otherwise be in the content of the water. So you want to use glass water bottles if you want to continue to retain the mineral value, the mineral content when you are using, drinking water for that mineral content in your normal everyday diet. But for me, I don't have to worry about that. So I'm very happy with the Lark water bottle, and so that is my choice for this round. All right, moving right along. We're going to move.
Quick question on that: can you put liquids other than water in it? Not while you're cleaning it, obviously, but just as for use.
Yeah. So while I do not, I do have someone else in the household who does, and I think it's. I'm not going to say that it's great, but there is lots of physical cleaning of the bottle if you do put other matter in there. But remarkably, it is really good at retaining heat and retaining cold. And so I don't know what degradation it does to the battery or to the lighting casing by putting heated products inside of it, which is why I don't. But you could potentially put tea or coffee in there, that kind of thing. But it cannot be at normal heated temperatures. You're going to damage it. But if it's like ice brew coffee, cold brew coffee, or iced tea, those could easily go in there without a problem. You're just going to have to physically clean it because even with the lighting, UVC lighting capabilities of it, it's still going to have residue that will start to bind itself to the interior of the walls of the stainless steel. So you're going to have to scrub that out to keep it clean, and for it not to, like, I never taste anything when I put the water in. And we have a zero water filter, also a great water filtration system. We've been very happy with the zero water filter system, but we put zero water in there, and I don't taste a thing any of the water. And I'm fairly sensitive from an olfactory perspective to any taste in water, and I never taste the water coming out of the Lark bottle. So I'm pretty impressed with it from that perspective, which is also why I don't put any kind of sugar or flavored products into the bottle itself, but you could.
Got it. Awesome.
Okay, great. That closes out our round, and we're going to do, I think, one more. We'll have time for maybe one more round, and then we'll have the Science of Productivity segment, and we'll close out. So, Augusto, what is your second choice here in round 2? You are muted.
Of course, we need to do
two
that
for
at
this
least
episode.
at least every 2 or 3 every episode. So somebody, please, speed up and get to the game here. Okay, don't make me be the only one. But it is a little thing I bought called Hold Me, and it's basically a side mount for your phone or tablet. So you put a little magnet on the back of your laptop or tablet, and then you can basically put the phone glued to that one. Okay, I saw the commercials of that and said, I don't know if this will work, but I did not want one that stay physically on my back, mostly because when it goes on the back, I'm concerned of the pressure and breaking the screen. So this one, you can remove it completely. But it is incredible what it is now to put the phone in the place of that second monitor, and you're anyways grabbing the phone. The difference now is you don't need to move the head. So even if I have my wife, for example, put her phone on the top of the computer, so she used the phone as a Zoom camera, but then she can work into the computer as she's doing all the conference calls and all that. So it is a super versatile thing. It wasn't that expensive, and I really like this. It's easy to put in the bag, so it will not damage the screen. You don't have the risk of pressure or anything, and it's really a game changer to put the phone or this. I have an iPad Mini. Put the iPad Mini on the side of the other iPad, and then now I have the 2 screens side by side.
I see so many practical uses of that if you have multiple iPads or multiple phones and devices that you want to use in Confluence. And so I'm now looking for other kinds of connective tools like the Hold Me for across device, because I'm less inclined to have the magnetic structure against batteries. I don't know if that's just me or not, but I'm just trying to keep the number of fields away from each other's devices, especially with regard to connectivity and everything else like that. And so there are several that use like a sticky pad. It's kind of a gel kind of sticky pad. And so if anybody does come across them, if you're listening to the podcast later or watching now, and you do come across those, in essence, it would be great to have like a huge board, like a whiteboard, and it just have that sticky surface, and you can just shove all of your devices onto the sticky board. And then that way you'd be able to put all of your mobile devices up on a space and not have that issue. And again, I would imagine that the magnetic function is the magnetic field is not degrading battery life, anything appreciably. But for some reason, I just feel like from a connectivity perspective, I'm a little worried about it impacting connectivity, and I would really have no good way to know that if there was appreciable disconnects in that way. But I like the Hold Me. I really do like the concept of it because it seems interesting. You've got the little disc that you've got to put on the backside of all the devices, right? So you'd have to have some kind of disc to hold them. But I think that would be really interesting.
So anybody who's listening, Ray would like a 4x8 sheet of flypaper for Christmas.
Yes, but it'll be gel,
just to
not
mount
the
on the wall.
Real flypaper, tacky
Okay.
stuff. So
I can only how gross.
Yeah, but you
that would
I
get,
had one
how
a
quick.
long time ago. Where it was a cell phone stand, and I got it at a conference. One of those giveaways at a conference, and you just put your cell phone onto it and it stuck right to it. And it's that kind of material where you could wash it off, soap and water, and it would just clean right off, and it was good to go again. And I found it to be really fantastic. And all I want is it to be huge. I just want it to be 15, 16 inches wide and about 12 to 13 inches tall. And I could just put a bunch of mobile devices against it.
I hear I hear it also works well if you have small children running around, because you can just
20 years ago, when I was in my last corporate job, someone sent me this email, and it blew my mind away initially, and I had to forward it out to my friends. Basically, it offered a very low cost cell phone, a cordless cell phone holder that was accessible for about 20 cents. So I got the email, I got the messaging around it. I thought it was really, very cool, the offering around it. And I sent it out to about 50 of my friends. And most of them responded, if they're interested, 20 cents, so the cost of it. And then they got the joke. As they scroll down into the email, they saw a picture of a guy with a rubber band attached to his head and the cell phone connected to this rubber band. And it was a great, 20 years ago, but pre-Bluetooth and all of that. It was very, very brilliant. It's a rubber band with the cell phone. I'm sure I could find an image of that online, but it was just very cool. This is pre-iPhones, pre any of his tech.
Wonderful. All right. With that, next up, Art, what is your second choice in our second round?
Okay. This is targeted for Samsung phone owners, higher end devices, anything from like a Note 8 older. And this is what's called a Samsung Dex Dock. Now you're going to find it in different configurations. This is one of their older ones. And what is the principle of this thing? Well, it's actually a number of things. One, your phone clips right in, and it has built into it, if I face the right end towards the camera, USB charging, USB-A ports so that you can hook up serial devices. And the most important thing is the HDMI port. Because when you plug this into a monitor, to a keyboard, to a mouse, and to a USB charger, it will drive the monitor, and it basically becomes the equivalent of a Chromebook. It uses your phone as the entire operating system, because the Samsung Dex operating system is part of the platform. You can run your browser sessions. You can run your Android apps on your monitor. You can slide things around in a windowed environment, use your full keyboard, your mouse. I literally have this on my desk all the time, and it is tied to my KVM switch, and it is one of the 4 machines that I run on a daily basis. Newer Samsung devices don't even need the dock. You can run directly wirelessly to monitors and just charge the device. The other thing I like about this, it's smart enough that if you plug it into the dock, you can use the phone as a touchpad. So you can actually replace the mouse part of the equation. If you have somebody who has one of these Samsung devices and you want to give them something, or yourself, to try an entirely different type of platform, Samsung Dex is actually really worth it nowadays. I think they've done an excellent job of taking it to where it could truly be, where you have a device that's this powerful. Why not take advantage of it as a full computer? And that's what this does. You'll find a bunch of these out there too. More of them are now in a vertical configuration. But what's interesting is this little guy has a fan in it too. It cools the phone down because it's running at full processor speed. So yeah, Samsung Dex, highly recommend looking into it.
And do these all work with only Galaxy devices?
Yes, and only certain higher end ones. So from like a Note 8 on, basically if it's a Note, it's a guarantee. If it's an S20, I think all the S20s support Dex. You could Google it very easily and look at the list. It's not just any device, but Samsung Dex is built on it. What's interesting about this is Motorola just announced in the past couple of weeks that they're going to start to offer a desktop version operating system off of their phones. And Android eventually, not in Android 11, but probably in 12 or 13, is going to offer the same type of functionality where you have plug in the HDMIs and run it as a desktop computer. I think we're going to see more and more of this happening because these devices are surpassing the power of many laptops, and there's no reason not to. And if we think about the new world that we're in, if you have a situation where you need to go into a work environment and basically use a set of devices there, but it's not your computer. Well, if you can just plug your phone in and now that's your whole computer, why not? I mean, yeah, I use it all the time that way.
Amazing.
You know, one of my main kind of pet peeve points, I guess, pain points with the Google Pixel line of phones. I love the pure Android experience. I love the features on it. You get early features from Google, but they have somehow deactivated the video capabilities on the USB-C port. So you can't do that currently on the Pixel line of phones, even up until it sounds like the latest version of the 5, Pixel 5. I hope they override that and reactivate the video components so that you can plug in USB-C and at least use an external monitor. But you can see the code being built for Android to be able to allow this to happen. So why they limited the functionality, I don't know. There could be reasons for it, legitimate reasons in based on the OEM or otherwise. But
there's another thing to add into that too that I failed to mention. On Windows 10, you can run Dex in a window. So you can run all your Android apps that are on your phone by running them from your phone in that Dex window on your Windows 10 desktop. So if you think about your text messaging, you get a text on your phone, it pops up in the Dex desktop. You don't have to have any other applications loaded or installed. You can just respond and send those text messages directly there. It's really an opportunity to dig in. Does it have room to grow? Absolutely. It's not perfect by any stretch, but I think it's a viable alternative for a lot of people. I know, like I said, I use it all the time.
Yeah, I think the Dex is a brilliant concept. It's one of the things that is, again, I live on an Apple ecosystem, so the M1 is exciting for me that some of those apps are going to work in the same way. I mean, I don't remember when the Dex came out, but it was a long time ago, and I remember it was one of the few things that will have made me consider moving or leaving my iPads behind, just because it's so convenient that you can get that, plug it in, and have a full computer experience.
Well, if you're in the tablet space, if you use a Galaxy S7 Plus or an S7, they have Dex in them as well. So you can use the 7 or the 7 Plus tablet with a keyboard and an external monitor and now have that full configuration, but it's a tablet. You don't have to have the phone. So you can still have whatever phone you have, but you can expand into that and use that Dex space. Just to give you a little idea as to how powerful this thing is, Microsoft Xbox has a Game Pass app that allows you to stream Xbox games directly through your phone and play them on your phone. I pulled that up on Dex and I was playing streaming Xbox games on my full screen through my phone using an Xbox controller Bluetooth, and there was no lag. It was like I was sitting at my Xbox, which you can do too. You can stream from your Xbox directly to your device too. So again, we're looking at this paradigm shift of the platform finally catching up with itself. The hardware has surpassed the software is starting to get there. And now I think we actually have the use case for these things. So
amazing. I'd imagine too, in terms of mobile devices, like Instagram and certain tools marketing are more effective on a mobile device. So being able to stream this onto a desktop or have a window you can tap into or another screen just makes things a lot easier versus typing on like a mini device of sorts. Being able to do that, on a bigger screen.
By far. And the thing now again, it's not perfect in that respect. If you run certain apps, they will only retain a portrait layout instead of a landscape. But there are certain applications, like there's a video editing tool, Cyberlink, that I use, and I use it on the phone. But if I pull it into up and Dex mode, I can add it full screen then. Same tool set, same capabilities. So I have, in this case, since it's a Note and it has the S Pen, which we're going to see in more devices, I can be out and about doing video editing, come back in, plug in, and pick up right where I was. Same device, no worry about the sync in the background or anything like that. So again, if you're into that type of space and it intrigues you, this is a platform that I suggest you look at. And you don't have to invest in the phone. You can look at the tablets as well.
Yeah. So just so that folks who are watching or listening have some further details, it's currently looks like it's about $99 USD on Amazon, and the Dex station itself, which is called DEX station, it tells us here Galaxy Note 8, Galaxy S8, Galaxy S8 Plus, and then it says let's see. Yeah, and then the later versions of phones, the various have Dex mode, which allow you to be able to do what Art was talking about in terms of really bringing up those apps directly from your phone in the Microsoft environment. And it looks as though from my look here, it's for Windows 7, 10, and Mac OS. So it's supporting a Mac-based version of this. So if you're on a Samsung Galaxy version phone, one of these S20s or the S20 Ultra or otherwise, you're able to go into Dex mode on the Mac OS, which I just learned by reading this to you. And now I'm really sad I sent my S20 Ultra back now. I may have to go purchase it again. So
I used the Dex to get around a problem at a client site for a number of years. They had an isolated lockdown environment where you couldn't bring in your own laptop and hook to their network because they needed a secured environment. But I needed to be able to check my actual company email, which you couldn't get to through their network. By bringing the Dex station in, all I needed was a keyboard, a monitor, and a mouse. And I used my mobile data connection, checked my email, worked with everything. So I had two systems set up. It looked like two full computers. But at the end of the day, I just popped my phone out and leave and just left the dock plugged in. The dock I have quotes on Amazon for about $70. And that's in a full travel kit and includes the HDMI cable. The only thing you have to supply separate is your charger.
Fantastic. Great choice. Wonderful. Matt, what is your second choice in round 2?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little different angle here. We've mentioned scanners a few times, and I remember a holidays a few years ago where I tried to collect. My dad had kept this family journal, and I tried to collect those and personally scan those so that there would be a digital copy, because there was only these, written copies that he had stored in big boxes. And that was quite painful and didn't produce a very good product in the end. And so I've come across two companies, one called South Tree and one called Legacy Box. And basically what they do is they ship you a box or ship, your loved one or family friend, and you can put your items in there, old photos, slide reels, VHS tapes, pretty much you name it, you put it in there, you send it back to them. And they'll, one, let you track that so you can keep track of the originals, but also then they'll give that back to you, and they can give it to you in either just a digital download or thumb drive or DVD. And, so this is a great gift for some of the older generations who are, in particular, you're interested in seeing and being able to, preserve that in a way that's accessible for future generations. And so saves you the time of having to go through the scanning process and creates a professional product and a fun experience for them to pick through and sort through what they would like to, put into those boxes.
Fantastic. Any questions, thoughts for Matt? All right, moving right along. Joseph, what's your choice in the second round?
So we've migrated everything to ClickUp. It's basically a project management system. Previously, we were using Airtable in combination with Trello, and then we had Process Street, so we're kind of gluing all these things together. So ClickUp allows us to kind of integrate all of it together. Kanban board, it's got a kind of an Asana type system built into it also as far as tracking, communications, integrates with Slack too as well. All our SOPs go in there. Previously, our SOPs, standard operating procedures, were going into Process Street, Google Keep as well. So it's nice having it all under one umbrella. I actually hired a consultant recently to help us kind of build the foundation, getting more GTD style into it as well, also to incorporate everything business wise. So that's the one that I'm loving from everything I'm seeing so far. And it also gives me the chance to maybe eliminate Airtable from our system too. We use Airtable for different reasons. We have we use their they have this profile-based system for all the members of all of my clients and so forth. So it has a feature of that sort built into it as well also. ClickUp.com.
Yeah, so it gives you a little bit of a Kanban style view, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have different flavors of being able to look at the workflows in different places. And so if you were looking to get this for someone, there's a free plan where you have like limited kind of storage and whatever else, but you can also gift it to someone, and I think it's like $5 a month. So if you pay on the annual plan, so that ends up being $60 a year, $9 month to month. But if you want to give someone a little productivity software gift, that's a really decent gift at a decent price. So and I've heard lots of really good things about ClickUp. The user interface is clean. It gives you a lot of integration capabilities, so that's nice as well. So.
Yeah, it's been interesting as of late that ClickUp has been one of the biggest points of conversation in the comparison to Notion. A lot of the Notion users are going, "Oh, wait, should I look at ClickUp? Well, what's the plus? What's the minus?" So I'll be curious to hear as you continue to use it, how it works out for you.
Beautiful. I one of my colleagues uses Notion quite a bit. He uses it personally, actually, for his own personal life. I haven't considered integrating, getting up Todoist and putting my personal life into ClickUp just yet, but it's certainly something I'm going to explore. If I can get it all under one umbrella, why not?
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you, Joseph. And so my choice this round is going to be my new keyboard, which I have been testing, and I've been testing it as of a few hours ago.
Awesome. we have two of those in our house, by the way.
Oh, great. So this is
$20.
this is the Logitech K480. It's a Bluetooth multi-device keyboard, and I was trying to solve a problem, which, Art has been talking about his KVM switch and all of those kinds of things in the Productivity Cast episode, holiday gift guide. And that got me to thinking, instead of utilizing my KVM switches fully utilized, because I have multiple, computers and servers connected to it, I wanted something that allowed me to connect iPad, smartphone, and I have a computer. You probably see me looking off to the side here. I have a computer that's out of arm's reach and up a bit. It's a laptop, so the keyboard is higher, and it's just difficult to type on. And now it is not, because I just click it over to 2, and now I'm able to type on the device, which is just a brilliant use of it. Now, a couple things, excuse me, that I've noticed is that it's a little bit louder in terms of its typing sound. So the sound coming off of it's a little bit louder than I would like. But for those who really like the mechanical typing key sounds, it really tries to replicate that, I think, and gives you some pretty loud clicking there. Not bad though. The keyboard ride is actually really nice. I haven't found it to be difficult to type on. It actually helps striking from the side, where sometimes I would have lower quality score in terms of typing speed because I would have to go back and correct some things. That keyboard side typing, the edges of the keys really do capture most of the keyboard typing that I'm doing when I do accidentally kind of go over to one side. All of the keys are structured to match over. So the Windows keys is the start button on here, and it gives a visual cue as to the command key on if you're on the Mac, and so it works across Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows. So you're capable of connecting all of those devices across it. And what I really like the most is that it has this lovely little spot here for you to be able to rest a device in. There goes Joseph's. And so it's really great. So now I can just sync my phone into it, and now my phone is here and I'm able to actually use it. I paid, I'm not quite sure how much I paid for this. I know that I was having some issues with Amazon actually getting it to me because I'm guessing there were just a lot of people who wanted them. Let me type it in here and see if I can't find it. So it's currently retailing at $35, $49.99 is its full market, its retail price. And so I was actually really pleased. It comes with 2 AAA batteries, and so those had to be immediately swapped out for rechargeables, because if this is going to be a primary device for 3 devices, I would imagine I'm going to run through that pretty quickly. So I'm really interested to see how this works out, and it was a late birthday present for myself of the few that I bought myself this year.
I feel left out because mine's out of reach. I have the exact same one too. I love that thing.
Yeah, I paid $20 for mine. It was I won from Amazon for $20, and then 2 weeks later from Best Buy for $20, and it's great, best keyboard deal ever for $20.
The fact of that slot being slightly rubberized is great for any device you put in there, because it's not going to fall out. And I love the fact that it does work off of standard AA batteries.
Yeah.
Because I have more than once thrown that keyboard in my bag when I go somewhere. And I know in my bag, I've got at least one set of batteries. So my keyboard will keep working regardless of the charge or not. Yeah, I love that keyboard. Kensington has that one, and they have another one. I can't think of the number. I want to say it's like a 480 or something. It's a really thin one with three Bluetooth connections on it too, that I swear by. I mean, those are my two absolute favorites. The key throw on both of them it's not mechanical level, but you're absolutely right. Picking that keyboard there, Ray, that's a winner.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, Logitech used to have a version that did not have the tablet or device slide on the top for 3.2, and it's indestructible. So that the one I have has rechargeable batteries.
I have
but
an older version of this as well. So
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's what I was talking about. I love that one.
That's the one I have.
I've had this for like 6 years, and
that thing is indestructible. You can give to the 2-year-old, and he will learn.
Only thing it doesn't have the tablet holder or the phone holder, which of course one Ray showed has, which is amazing.
That's the part who broke. So you give it to the keyboard, he will learn to type, not breaking the devices.
Right.
Fantastic. Okay, so because of time, we are going to move our way on to, we're going to close out this round. Thank you, everybody. And we're going to move on in the show. So for those of you who, I unfortunately, we didn't get to our book choices or other software choices, but we will put all of this into the show notes. So we looked at lots of different holiday gear and gift guides. So we'll put those into the show notes for you so you can look at the others. But we're going to move on in the agenda to now the science of productivity with Matt Plummer. So Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you for the science of productivity.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. So in the science of productivity segment, what I try to do is bring a new piece of research on how to become more productive, accomplish your goals faster. So in this week's segment, I want to talk about a research around this mindset that helps, enhance creativity and also ultimately effectiveness. And I think this is particularly important now because, in our world today, especially, at least in the United States, we're growing hyper-polarized where, the ideas that we have end up being more and more so on either extreme. And we find it challenging to think that there's merit in the other side. And this is a problem when it comes to being creative and solving problems. And actually, a Harvard University psychiatrist was the one who kind of perhaps first illuminated this. And what he did was, and his name is Albert Rothenberg, and what he did was he looked at 22 Nobel laureates, and he researched kind of, the ideas that they worked on at any given time. And what he found is that they spent a ton of time, quote, actively conceiving multiple opposites or antitheses simultaneously. So this idea that you're thinking about two different ideas that actually feel like they're in conflict with each other. So Einstein's a great example of that. He had this idea that an object could be perceived as both being at rest and at moving, depending on, where you were as the observer of that object. And ultimately that led to the theory of relativity, right? And so this idea that you can hold two ideas that seem to be in conflict with each other in your head at a single time is what psychologists call the mindset of paradox, or some call it paradoxical cognition. And research over the last 5 years has basically shown that if you can either prime yourself by thinking about paradoxical thoughts or bring that mindset to your work, that you'll increase in creativity, increase in innovation, and that you'll be more effective. And so what they've done is they've done research on this in, kind of the lab setting where they do an experiment, but they've also done it in real world context and have even looked kind of observationally at Toyota, for example, and seen that this mindset of bringing this to bear increases effectiveness. And what it also does is it increases job satisfaction. And that's because when you experience tension in your workplace, your tendency, if you can bring a mindset of paradox to it, your tendency is to actually come alive and be energized by that because you're okay with this idea of having competing demands on your psyche. And so it helps you be more resilient as well. And so if you want to develop this mindset of paradox, what I'd encourage you to do is when you find two ideas that feel conflicting is to sit with them to not, kind of follow the urge to yield to one side or the other, but to actually stay in the middle of that paradox and see if you can find a solution that actually satisfies both of those demands. So that's this week's Science of Productivity. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Matt, for this Science of Productivity for episode 34. And that brings us to the near close of our show. And so I just wanted to wish everybody a happy winter holidays season, whether you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas or Festivus for the rest of us. I hope that you're all going to enjoy and appreciate some little bit of joy in and amongst this very challenging year. And so I just wanted to wish everybody that. We'll be back next week and the week after that. So, we'll still be able to wish you more holidays. But I just wanted to let everybody know who may be listening to us for the last time this year to just have a little bit of happy holidays. And with that, I wanted to close out and give our panelists a chance to tell us where they can keep up with us, keep up with them in the future. So let's start with you, Matt. Since you were did your Science of Productivity and you last spoke, how can folks keep in touch with you and up to date regarding what you're doing out there in the world?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can go over to zarvana.com, which is on the banner there. So that's ZARVANA. And we produce, tons of free resources as well as workshops and group trainings for companies and individuals. So we have one coming up this week and another around end of year planning workshop next week as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us here, Matt, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. That was Matt Plummer from Zarvana. And next up, we have Art Gelwicks. Art Gelwicks, how can we keep up to date with you?
Well, right now, the easiest way to do that is over at theideapump.com. That's where I write. That's where I talk. And that's where you're going to find out about the new thing that's coming in January. And I'll lead it this way. Think fruit. Or maybe vegetables. I'm not sure which. I'll leave it at that.
Wonderful. Thank you, as always, Art, for joining us here on Anything But Idle. And Joseph. Joseph, it's been a pleasure having you here on the show for the first time. Hopefully it won't be the last time. This is a bit of a weird show for you to be on with the Holiday Gear Guide, but hopefully you enjoyed your time with us today. How can folks keep up to date with you and your work?
So first of all, great time today. Thank you so much. I love the topic, particularly closing out the holidays, beginning of the holidays itself. And so connect with me, successcircles.com. So Success Circles is our peer accountability program community. And if you go to rulesforsuccess.com, it forwards you to a page on Success Circles where you can access our podcast. We did a Skillshare event recently that'll be there posted very soon by tomorrow. So either successcircles.com or rulesforsuccess.com forwards you to our blog podcast page on our site. Thanks, Ray.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us today, Joseph. Wonderful. That was Joseph Varkeys from Success Circles. And then there were two. Just you and me, Augusto Pinaud.
I'm always terrified of that because if you read enough Agatha Christie, then there is one, and I'm always the one who goes. I don't know.
I've always told people if there's anything, I'm not suicidal. I am homicidal. So if I'm going to be one of the two, I've got to choose, right? But either way, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for all that you do to make Anything But Idle happen. So Augusto Pinaud. And so with that, everybody, if there is something that we missed today, if there was a gift in one of the gift guides you thought should have been focused on in the show, head on over to anythingbutidle.com and you can let us know on the episode page. So it'll be anythingbutidle.com/034 for the episode and episode number, and it'll take you right there to the page. You can also tweet or DM us on Twitter at anythingbutidle. We've got our DMs open, so you can message us if you have any thoughts there as well. If you have a question or comment about anything we discussed in the show, again, leave a comment on anythingbutidle.com on the episode page, and we'll be happy to reach out to you. You'll find there on the episode page a show note, transcript. It's a machine-generated transcript, but it'll be helpful for you. Any extra items that we talked about, we have books listed in the guide. We have all kinds of other stuff listed down there for you, so you can read that and access it there. If it's your first time watching the live stream, feel free to click the subscribe button. That'll give you notifications for future episodes. We go live here weekly. And then if you're listening to the podcast, go to anythingbutidle.com/subscribe, and that'll help you find your podcast of choice and how to subscribe there for free. With that, I just want to thank everybody for joining us for this Anything But Idle.